First of all, the Democrat Party has been reduced to essentially a social media stunt at this point. That's the only way they can get any attention. It's not through legislation. It's not through ideas or policy. It's through stunts, whether it's getting arrested at a press conference or outside of an ICE facility or skipping work to go to Illinois. But it doesn't change the facts on the ground. There was a bill in 2021 that all the Democrats supported that would have had a national ban on redistricting in this way, and all the Republicans opposed it.
Oh, that's gonna hurt!
Now this deserves a good old-fashioned slow zoom as the smugness soon dissipates at the hands of the truth. As the likes of J.D. Vance took to Indiana to further the Republican effort to gerrymander in their favor, of course, while voicing outrage at Democrats when they do it. Side note a moment, just to refresh my memory, which political party brought a bill to the floor back in 2021 to ban redistricting on a national level? Oh, that's right. And which political party voted against it? Oh, that's right.
Guess who's here right now? JD is here, speaking with Governor Braun right now.
Well, when the conversation was brought up on Fox News featuring the full MAGA Avengers here, Jessica Tarlov was on hand to remind them of their full outrage and hypocrisy, considering that they said nothing when Republicans vacated their position to avoid a vote on releasing the Epstein files.
But it doesn't change the facts on the ground. There was a bill in 2021 that all the Democrats supported that would have had a national ban on redistricting in this way, and all the Republicans opposed it. I also heard no complaints from any Republican when Mike Johnson, just a couple weeks ago, decided to abdicate his job to say, actually, Congress isn't in session anymore because I don't want to have to vote on turning over the Epstein files, the bill put forward by Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie. He said, let's go home rather than talk about the fact that Donald Trump may or may not have been in there.
All right.
So be equal opportunity in your complaints about fleeing your job. At least they're doing this for a good reason.
And you guys are the worst offenders. Why don't you just say how terrible you guys are?
I'm not in the mood, and it's not true. So yes, the map looks.
You don't jerry around with your districts?
We don't do mid-cycle redistricting.
You just did it in New York.
No, we have never
and then she got slapped down by a judge.
We have never mid-cycle redistricted.
Just did it in 2024.
At the behest of the president asking for 5 seats like he asked for all of those votes way back in Georgia. And it's interesting you hear this from the right, oh, look at Massachusetts. And I think Trump said he got like 40% of the vote or something there. And they don't have a Republican seat. But the GOP governor was the one who signed off on those lines, and they had a bipartisan commission to do this. Sometimes Republicans just don't win, and sometimes Democrats just don't win. It doesn't mean that everything has to be so wildly unfair. But even Ari Fleischer posted about this, which I appreciated, saying, I want to win 5 more seats, but even politics must have rules. Gerrymandering should be done once every 10 years. Check back in 2032 when this would be appropriate.
And Tarlov also reiterated the broader picture here, right, which is how unpopular Trump's agenda is across the board, to the point that Republicans are being heckled at their own town halls for how unapologetic they are when bending the knee to Trump.
Nancy Pelosi, obviously savvy. I believe she has talked about illegal immigration and specifically what ICE has become in this new iteration. And I'm going to throw a name out there, one that I haven't used before. Mike Flood.
No.
Are you familiar with that, Congressman? You vote the same way. Yeah, Nebraska. So he had a town hall. And people showed up at that town hall and they started asking about why you have an ICE budget that big, but you're cutting people's health care because you're right, it's a terrible issue for Republicans. And if you lose the midterms, it's going to be because you took health care away from millions of people. People talking about masked ICE agents. People talking about alligator Alcatraz and spending money on this. And there is a reason that Kristi Noem is on TV begging people to come work for ICE. There's no age cap anymore. You don't need a college degree. You're going to get a $50,000 bonus. We'll pay back your student debt.
Yay.
The reason that they're having to do this is because when over half of the people that they are locking up in the Okey Pokey or wherever you're going aren't actually convicted of anything. That
No, they just have criminal charges.
It talks about two big changes to the Medicaid program. One of those changes is that if you are able to work and you are able-bodied, you have to work. If you choose not to work, you do not get free health care. You do not get free health care. Okay. So here's a question. Do you think that people who are 28 years old that can work and refuse to work should get free health care? I don't think that a majority of Nebraskans agree with you.
Take the recent town hall in Nebraska, where Representative Mike Flood opened the floor to a chorus of boos and then concluded his event with chants of vote him out. He was faced with questions on Epstein, ICE, cuts to Medicaid, which left the audience far from satisfied, indicative of how Trump fares in the polls on all of these issues.
My question is fiscal. With 450 million FEMA dollars being reallocated to open Alligator Alcatraz and 600 million taxpayer FEMA dollars being used to now open more concentration camps and ICE burning through $8.4 million a day to illegally detain people, how much does it cost for fascism? How much do the taxpayers have to pay for a fascist country?
So, we're talking about warning signs for the Republican Party, and I will just say, uh-oh, for them. That is the phrase of the day, uh-oh. Democrats lead in the generic congressional ballot, and you can see their lead is expanding. It's becoming bigger. Look at this in spring. CNBC, it was 2. Now it's 5. How about Ipsos? It was 1 for the Democrats. Now it's 4. How about the Wall Street Journal? It was 1, and now it is 3. So now the average lead here is 4, which is up from just about a point. That's about a 3-point move on average in the Democrats' direction. And of course, Kate Paul, when this is coming amidst the fights over redistricting, and I think there are going to be a lot of people wondering, wait a minute, are Republicans wanting to change the lines because they are losing, which they absolutely are on the generic congressional ballot. At this point, Democrats are winning, Republicans are losing, and maybe they're trying to change the lines in order to give themselves a little bit more wiggle room, given what we're seeing, a clear Democratic momentum on the generic congressional ballot.
How does it break down when you look at party ID?
Okay, so this is one metric, right? The generic congressional ballot. How about party identification, right? Because the idea is if you're a Democrat, you're very likely to vote Democrat. If you're a Republican, you're very likely to vote Republican. Take a look here, the party ID margin, Democrats versus Republicans. Look in Q1 of this year. Quinnipiac, Republicans had a lead of a point. Gallup, it was tight. Look at where we are now in the latest measures. Again, Democratic momentum. This is a 5-point move to the Democrats, according to Quinnipiac. Now they're up by 4 on party ID. How about Gallup? What we see is Democrats ahead by 3 points. So again, what you're seeing is clear movement towards the Democratic Party on a very key metric, because if you're identifying as Democratic, you're far more likely to vote for the Democrat. If you're identifying as Republican, you're far more likely to vote Republican. And I will note, Kate, that this is a change from last year, especially among Gallup, when Republicans held a rare lead going into the 2024 election. And that, of course, foreshadowed Donald Trump winning, foreshadowed Republicans taking the House, taking the Senate. And now, of course, Democrats are ahead here. This is a big uh-oh for Republicans as we are at the midpoint of 2025.
But you see some signs as well, even beyond polling that you've been looking at, you think could indicate.
Yeah, okay, so this is the polling, right? You're looking at party ID, you're looking at the generic congressional ballot. How about the special elections? Look at this. In the median 2025 special election so far, Democrats in these different districts, get this, they're doing about 13 points better, the median Democrat, than Kamala Harris did in those same districts last year. That is a huge movement. And last year what we saw was, in fact, when you compare the 2024 special election results back to the Joe Biden baseline of 2020, Republicans were actually doing better than they did in 2020 in those. So again, this is clear movement towards the Democrats, and we're seeing it on 3 different metrics, 2 polling and 1 in actual election results.
And when this is brought up on Fox, Tarlov's co-hosts just cannot handle it or choose not to.
Can't get enough Meidas? Check out the Meidas Plus Substack for ad-free articles, reports, podcasts, daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, and more. Sign up for free now at MeidasPlus.com.